Okay, we are at the top of the hour, so we can, and I think all of our speakers are here, so we can get right into our meeting. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today for UPLIFT. You're joining us for UPLIFT Youth Climate Action and the launch of the Teen Prep Kit. Woo, super excited. Taryn, can you go to the next slide? Thank you. My name is Rita Ewing. I'm going to be the moderator today. I am the Design and Implementation Program Manager and I am the American Red Cross GDPC. Excuse me, I can't speak. I am from the American Red Cross and GDPC Global Disaster Preparedness Center. And I am joined today from the American Red Cross as well. Sam Johnson, do you want to say hello?
Sure. Hi, everyone. Good morning if you are a West Coaster like Rita and I. My name is Sam Johnson. I am the Youth Prep Program Lead for the American Red Cross. I have two youth prep programs, Prepare with Pedro, which is for 4 to 8-year-olds, and the Pillowcase Project, which is for 8 to 12-year-olds. And Rita and I are super excited to talk about the Teen Prep Kit with you today. In the background, we've got Taryn with us. She's in the chat. Taryn, do you want to just say hi?
Everyone, thank you so much for being here.
So she's in the background helping us with the chat, and we'll be your host today, and I'll pass it back to Rita.
Thank you, everybody. Next slide, please. And we are joined today, really quick, we're joined from the Solferino Academy, Henry Caceres, and we are joined also from the Ecuador Red Cross, Ana Gabriela, and we are also joined from the RCRC Climate Center, Manon Evel. They are on camera, so they can wave, but we'll hear more from them in a little bit. So we're really excited to have them join us. So next slide, please. Team Prep Kit.
Yeah, woo! So today is the launch day of the Teen Prep Kit, which we're super excited about. As I mentioned, I'm the program lead for youth preparedness education at the American Red Cross. And earlier I mentioned that we at the American Red Cross, and then we share our programs with international societies as well. But we have a program for kindergarten through 2nd grade students and 3rd through 5th grade students. So we're thinking about essentially 4 to 12-year-olds. So understanding this, Rita and I were working together, and we know that there is a huge gap in preparedness education for teens. So essentially 12 and beyond. Once you become an adult, you can get, adult general preparedness, but we know that there is a big gap in preparedness education for that teen age. So we decided to collaborate together and create the Teen Prep Kit, which is a compilation of free resources on preparedness education for teens by teens across the RCRC movement that is now freely available on the Prepare Center, which Rita will show you in a little bit. When we were thinking about what we wanted to make available for this age group, we knew that either teen preparedness education resources existed, they were just super hard to find, or they just didn't exist at all. So what we're going to showcase is the things that we created for you all. Next slide, Taryn. So the fun thing about this toolkit is that it was designed with teen inclusivity in mind. So what was created for you all offers a fun and accessible way to learn about all of these 6 topics that were created by teens. So people in this age group help us curate activities, and we got to create videos as well to kind of give general education on disaster risk reduction, emergency planning, climate change, wellness and resilience, health, and leadership and future building. Next slide, please. So all of these resources are a compilation of grab and go activities and videos for you all to have access to at any time in multiple different languages. And the best part about this was it wasn't just Rita and I coming together to think about all the things that we wanted, teens to learn about. Obviously, that is where you create things that are really not relevant to age groups. So we're super excited to work with the Ecuadorian Red Cross and the Paul Red Cross, Kenyan Red Cross, the Limitless program through the Solferino Academy, and multiple reference center through the IFRC. And I'm going to pass it back to Rita to go in a little deeper on how we created these for you all.
Thanks, Sam. Next slide, please. So back in May 2022 is when we actually started to develop the Teen Prep Kit. So with the American Red Cross Youth Club in the Los Angeles region, they have a very special youth prep program that provides education on the disaster cycle of preparedness, response, and recovery called Ready Teens, which we'll drop the link in the chat in just a second. So through the summer, we worked with the teens in the program to help develop our first batch of activities and really pilot the Teen Prep Kit. So throughout the summer and into the autumn, we also worked with the participants of the Solferino's IFRC Youth Innovation Academy, Limitless, which you'll learn more about in just a moment from our panelists. And we also sent out a call to action across the RCRC movement to help make this kit an accessible and engaging global team for teens interested in getting really started in disaster preparedness topics. So we're really thrilled to say that we were able to actively work with the youth and volunteers to make the characters and designs and activities and the scripts and webpage for the Teen Prep Kit. Next slide, please, Sharon. And if you click play on that. Thank you. So for a quick preview of the Teen Prep Kit, which we will link in the chat, it consists of 6 modules, as Sam mentioned. Each module really consists of an introductory video where the preparedness teens will walk you through a disaster scenario. The activities then follow. They're currently available in Arabic, Chinese, French, Spanish, and Swahili. Filipino and Nepali will be released at the end of the week. All videos are also subtitled in all the languages. The following section is additional resources. So if you'd like to explore further, we've compiled resources on the topics that already exist and are centered around teen audiences that we recommend. And then the last section at the bottom is to ensure that the Teen Prep Kit is a living resource. So we'd love to see that the future models and activities are added. So please utilize this function to really interact with us. So that's enough about the Teen Prep Kit for now. So we'll move on to the main show with our panelists. But if you have any questions, please drop them in the chat. We'd love to take the time at the end of this webinar to really address in the Q&A to interact with you all in the webinar. So thank you very much for this time to talk about the Teen Prep Kit with you all. And let's get on with the panel discussion. Thank you. All right, so here are our speakers and next section. Next slide, please, Taryn. Okay, so really this will be a question all, oops, sorry, back a slide, Taryn. Okay, so I want to take some time to introduce all of our speakers. So if we can go one by one to introduce each other. So we'll start with Henry. Can you quickly give an introduction to yourself, your name, where you come from, where you're located, and how you got started in youth action?
Yes, of course. Thank you, Rita, and thank you very much, everyone, for the invitation. And I'm happy to be here. I'm Henry Cáceres. I'm part of the IFRC Solferino Academy. I'm mainly work on innovation programs, mainly focused on youth innovation. I was in charge of the Limitless program and now in charge of a project that tries to promote innovation support system in national societies, which is called ISS. And I'm very happy to be here. I'm based in Ecuador. I'm ready to discuss.
And Anna?
Thank you. Hi, everyone. It's really nice to be joining this amazing panel. I'm Ana Mejia, volunteer of the Ecuadorian Red Cross. I'm based in Quito, Ecuador. And I've been part of the Limitless program that Henry was telling you about. And the project that I lead, it's focused on mental health and gamification and how to use elements of that to improve mental health of adolescents and just open a safe space to talk about mental health. And also, I am part of the youth advisory group of the Climate Center. So it's been really nice to be joining and to talk about different aspects within youth innovation and youth engagement. Thank you.
And Sam?
Awesome. I gave a little bit of an intro earlier, but I will say my name is Sam Johnson again. I work for the American Red Cross as a program lead for youth preparedness programs. I started off as an AmeriCorps member with the American Red Cross of Alaska doing preparedness education, and then went to do recovery work implementing preparedness programs in the U.S. Virgin Islands after Hurricanes Irma and Maria before taking on this role. So I'm really excited to share my field experience, but also what we do at the national level.
Thank you. And lastly, Manon.
Hi everyone, really happy to be here with you. So I'm Manon, I'm working with the Red Cross Red Crescent Climate Center as a technical advisor on youth and policy. And I started my journey on youth engagement, organizing events as part of a local Scout association when I was growing up, and kept on engaging on environmental issue growing up, and eventually being a youth delegate in different climate conference, and then joining the Climate Center, and very excited to be now supporting youth in their own engagement on climate action. Thank you.
Okay, next slide, please. Okay, so our first question for the panelists, and we do not have to, go in a row. So whoever wants to speak first, feel free. But we'd like to ask you all, how did you get started in youth action? So whatever youth action means to you. So how would you define youth action? And how did you begin to get involved in your community?
Maybe I can start. Yeah. Well, I get started involved in youth action when I entered to the Ecuadorian Red Cross as a volunteer, because I made my internship within the Red Cross, and I really like what they've been doing, and I work closely with the youth program. So I understood that Red Cross is just more about, it's not just about blood and donations, but it's about youth engagement and leadership. So after my internship ended, I was wondering, how can I get involved? And I did not decide it at the beginning to enroll as a volunteer, but then it's like I always have this this connection with the coordinators and the activities that they've been doing. So I decided to step forward and enroll as a volunteer. And even though at the beginning I didn't know what to expect, I was working within the youth program and engaging in processes of leadership and participation and innovation. And I found that it is really cool to be part of these programs, and it also helps you to grow, to step forward, to challenge your beliefs, and to keep like getting better and better and better. And I think that that's why the youth program is really important within the Red Cross, within the movement in general, because youth has an incredible energy, and we can lead transformation within our communities. So that's why I consider that youth action is really important.
I can go next, I guess.
Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. So, well, basically I started on youth action when I was a teenager. I joined the Ecuadorian Red Cross when I was 15. I've been part of the movement for almost 20 years. So in that time, I work in many areas that I recognize as youth action. At the beginning, in operations, doing things in communities, small things, small tasks, that eventually I realized that are really important as part of the learning process as a youth or as a volunteer in Red Cross. But I have also participated in government spaces and management spaces. And I learned that in all these spaces, it is necessary to have a discussion on how to include youth on the decision making. Because when I was beginning in this journey, normally we were told like what to do and where to go and do, and not asked, hey, what would you like to do? What are your interests? What are your passions? So basically, in my beginning was like obeying, to be able to do something. But eventually I understand that proper youth action requires listening to youth, listening to what they want, what they expect, what they even suffer, to understand better how to create and design good spaces for youth development and guarantee proper youth action in communities.
I'll go next. So I didn't really know about the Red Cross before I joined a program called the AmeriCorps, which is a postgraduate service program that I did right out of college. And I remember I did our 3rd through 5th grade program for a group of 3rd graders on a military base in Alaska on a Friday. And that Sunday we had like a 7.1 earthquake hit like a couple miles out of town. And I remember I went back into the Red Cross office on that Monday, and the teacher had emailed me and she was like, oh my gosh, like you just taught the kids how to stay safe during an earthquake. Can you believe we just had an earthquake? She was like, they knew what to do. And I remember being like, oh, like you don't necessarily know, especially within preparedness education, when the information that you're sharing with kids is going to impact their lives. It could be 2 days later or like 3 years later. But it was the first time where I really realized how impactful specifically emergency preparedness education can be. And I liked it so much that even after my program was done, I stayed volunteering with the Red Cross because it was such a fun program to be a part of. And then as I've grown in my programs and we've worked to expand our programs, the older you get, the more knowledgeable you are already, and being able to engage specifically youth and ask them like, how did you feel when you experienced that? Or what do you think we should do in this situation? Just being able to have those conversations, one, gives you a different perspective on the challenges that they face, but also it gives you insight into kind of the fun ideas that I wouldn't have thought of, or my team wouldn't have thought of, or my volunteers wouldn't have thought of. So it's a great way to really create a collaborative space, but also ensures that whatever we're providing for a community is culturally relevant to what they're actually experiencing, and not just like this cookie cutter prescribed preparedness education that we think they need. And that's why I think specifically youth action is so valuable, because you can really make it what the community needs to make it.
So yeah, for me, my experience with youth action started a bit like Henry, like being engaged in my community, like growing up as a teenager. And then I went on to study policy and environment. And at that time, I started to get engaged also in space a bit bigger than my community, with international conferences, for instance. And I also started to realize at this point that the youth can really have an impactful, can be an impactful voices in this type of forum, and that they can be listened to, and that it's really important to have representation of youth. in different spaces. And then I started to intern with the International Federation, and that was the entry point in the Red Cross Red Crescent family. And it's so interesting to grow in this space and to see all the opportunities that are available for different type of engagement in the Red Cross Red Crescent. There is always new ideas and places to explore these ideas, which is something I really like.
Thank you all for sharing. No, I think it's really interesting to see like where people begin. I also was familiar with the Red Cross as a young person because my community was impacted by some pretty severe floods. Like the neighborhood that I grew up next to was completely flooded out. And my neighbors needed to be air evac, and it was completely devastating and something that impacted me greatly growing up, but it was not something that I think I was really conscious about getting involved with the Red Cross until I became an adult. So learning about young people becoming active in the Red Cross or Red Crescent as young people is really fascinating as an adult looking back, and how you become engaged as a young person very early on. It's fascinating to me about how you can start becoming active in your community at a very young age. And I wish, looking back now, about the opportunities that could have become available to me as a young person. So I think that's why youth engagement is very exciting to me, because of all the opportunities that are available to young people about making change in their community, and what I could have done in my own community to take action. So that's why I really like youth action and youth engagement. So I really appreciate everybody's input on this. It's really exciting to hear everybody's different input. Okay, Taryn, next question for us. I think, okay. So why is youth climate action important to national societies and communities? Who wants to take the first crack at this one?
I can start. And I would like to connect this a little bit with the last question, because sometimes, and it's perfectly fine if that happens, sometimes people not connect with youth action because they are really interested in doing something. Sometimes it happens because of an accident, which means that you decided to join because you want more friends, or because you need something to do because you don't because you have a lot of free time, or because someone liked you eventually. And I'm saying this because it is really important that national societies or organizations that work with youth or volunteers just create enough spaces that can take these people that joined by accident and be engaged fully enough to keep them as part of the organization, and trying to learn what is important for them. And this is why I wanted to connect this with the last question. And it's because nowadays it's kind of an interest of everyone to work on climate. Everybody is worried about climate, especially youth. But not always we take all these people and say, hey, there is a space that is suitable for you, where you can learn, where you can do, where you can explore, where you can experiment. So it is important that national societies or organizations recognize the importance of climate has for youth, but also it is important that they recognize how important it is to create spaces that are safe and specifically built for them to be able to keep them because we as organizations have some formal goals to help people to trying to stop climate change or any goal that we have, but we have to remember that young people, youth, teenagers also have specific goals that are part of their development as human beings. And if we want to create a space that has an impact, a real impact in communities, we need to recognize those goals and needs that you have to be able to take an advantage of that excitement about climate, which is something that is really interest of these young people. That's why I think youth climate action is important, but also we need to recognize what is important for them aside of the formal goals of the organization.
Go ahead, you got it.
Maybe I can add something on what Henry was saying, and I want to highlight a discussion that we have within the Youth Advisory Group, and it's that it is important to have these spaces that are designed for youth and that are like aligned to their necessities, but it's also important to have spaces of meaningful participation within the structures of the organizations. And this is why, because we need to enroll youth in the decision making. Because participation, we have like a spectrum of participation, and we can participate just as a consultant that, what do you think about this? And it's like, oh, yeah, cool. But we can also enroll within the spaces of decision making to give us our perspective, to give another approach to consider, and to work together with the technical teams to support, to advise, and to consider these areas that are affecting young people. As you were saying, Rita, for example, she experienced the impact of within their community, and another situations are related that young people are experiencing the impacts of climate change, and that is why they are like having all of this motivation and this drive to promote change, to enroll in activism, and we need to give them the platform. For example, I really celebrate the fact that we have the Youth Advisory Group within the Climate Center, and that it is the platform to keep promoting youth action, to keep just highlighting the strategies that are there, but also raising voices for young people to take the step forward, to opening these spaces for meaningful participations that sometimes I believe that there is not. And just moving like forward the movement, I had the opportunity to talk to another young activist on climate, and they also say that the enrollment in like decision making and to be really and to hear really the voices of young people, it's important in the climate action agenda. So I think that is something to reflect on, to like combine the things that Henry was saying, to look forward to the necessities of young people. And I think that that's why the TPK is doing, but also to question what we can do within our organizations to include youth perspective and a meaningful participation. So that's why I put on the table to keep talking about.
I would definitely have to agree with both Henry and Anna, and specifically too, I think to what Henry was saying, I was just thinking about all of the clubs I joined in high school and college, not because I cared about baking, but because my friends were doing it. So what value can you add to that? And I think the engagement piece is so key, because we do see, even within our own Red Cross clubs, that kids want to be involved in something, whether it's to improve their resume for college admissions, or to get their first job, or trying to gain skills for, you know, an internship, whatever it might be. And we can provide that all within the Red Cross mission in a fun, engaging way, whether it is climate specific or within another topic, but being able to offer those opportunities so that kids, whether their intention was to be active in climate action or not, still have a meaningful experience with us as an organization as a whole, at least within the American Red Cross. And so for us on our end, being able to create programming and engage them in the curation of the programming, specifically within the Teen Kit, but our other programs as well, whether they're, the older kids presenting our younger programs that are for kindergartners, or, they're hosting a blood drive or doing a fundraiser or doing preparedness activities within themselves, being able to provide them opportunities just to be able to connect and build community within each other, find people with shared interests, but also provide them with opportunities to build skills beyond just, climate education. And I think for us, that's, being able to be an organization where we provide holistic opportunities for people and in fun, engaging ways, really important for us, and something that we're always striving to do better at and create more opportunities for.
I very much resonate with everything that has been said. I think youth are very important because they are agent of change. They can really inspire their community and their national societies to make change, to also be more resilient, and everything is about their future. So they need to be involved in the discussion in order to make sure that the decisions that are taken are really looking at the concern. And I think to be able to do this and to engage in a meaningful way, of course, youth need to be invited, or sometimes find ways to invite themselves to those conversations. And before that, they need to be empowered to really have the confidence to take action. The Climate Center has developed a few tools like YAdapt that really aim to create this confidence for you to really take action and inspire their community. So I would really invite you to look at for some of these tools. And also we were talking about education and raising awareness. And I think it's very important that every national society, every person that is working on climate change ensures that everything that is done is accessible and understandable by youth, so they can educate themselves and then educate the communities as well afterwards, and have a duplicating effect.
Thank you, everyone, for sharing.
Can I add
Yeah,
something?
please, Henry.
Yeah, I was also having another idea, and is that also youth climate action is important, or should be considered really important, because it allows us as organizations or communities to generate an intergenerational conversation, which is also really important, because we tend, when we are working in any topic related to youth, we tend to separate the youth things with the adult things, and we have to remember that we are part of the same society, we are part of the same community, the same organization. So combining the experiences of adults and also the expertises, experiences, or new knowledge that youth can bring to the conversations or to the table is really important. So intergenerational conversations, making youth, not only on climate, but in any other topics, it's important, because we need to generate intergenerational conversations in the organization, something that we talk about kind of a little bit, and in some places we talk a lot, but not always happen. We still, I have listened in some organizations and also national societies, people saying, hey, youth is important, we are going to support you, we are going to give you spaces, but at the end of the hour, we have adult-centric programs taught for youth, but without understanding and considering youth. So these intergenerational conversations will allow us to keep the voices of the youth on the table, but at the same time recognize the experience that adults have and that can offer to these actions that youth can do.
I think you segued us very nicely into our next question, Henry. Can you answer this next question then? How can national societies better support youth climate action?
If I may, I can complete
Continue on
that idea.
sentiment
Then I would say that that's the first time, of course, this intergenerational conversation, because we will understand better what is youth. And the second thing is that we have to understand how fast our generations changing right now. When we are creating youth programs, we try to remember what we liked when we were young, and trying to apply the same things right now. But the reality is that it doesn't work anymore. We need to learn to understand better what the new generations likes. So it's the intergenerational conversation, but remembering that we have new generations that we need to understand better. And the third thing is the spaces. I have seen in many places youth saying, hey, so sorry, but I don't want to keep doing anything. And when you ask why, they said, it's because I failed, and someone told me that I'm bad because I failed, and it started being pointed out because of that. And one of the things that I believe that national societies can do to better support youth climate action is to guarantee safe spaces, a space where you can go, do something, explore, experiment, learn, and fail without the fear of being pointed or punished or something because of that failing. We have to recognize that failing is part of the learning process, and we need to encourage people to do more and fail more and sooner, because the sooner they fail, the better and faster they are going to learn about that. That's why we in the Solferino Academy, we created a program called the Innovation Support System Promotion, which basically is trying to support national societies to design innovation approaches, spaces, methodologies, or processes that will allow young people to explore and experiment, say, in safer spaces, mainly because of this. Because if we start punishing and pointed to young people, they are going to take a step out, and they are going to stop doing things, and that's a lose for the organization.
I obviously agree with everything that Henry is saying. The idea too, most importantly, being that things and even just our societies are evolving so quickly. So when you mentioned, we like to look at the things that we liked growing up, but that's not applicable at all to what youth like now, right? So it's like people back in the day loved the Beatles, but now they love BTS, and that's just the reality of the world, and you have to be able to keep on top of it. And I know that that's something that at the American Red Cross, we're always kind of a little bit farther behind than we should be, and it takes us a little bit longer to catch up, and that's something that we've really tried to start really looking at, is how do we stay relevant? How do we engage youth better while not thinking the things that we thought worked, 3 years ago isn't the same thing that's going to work to engage youth now. And that's something that, as we've all been talking about, being able to have those conversations with youth and creating those spaces for them to feel like, hey, the Red Cross is actually going to listen to what I'm saying, and then we're going to take that and do something with it. Being able to create those environments where they feel like their voices are heard, so then we can then make organizational change, whether it's within the climate action space or disaster preparedness or leadership building or fundraising, whatever it might be. That foundationally for me, I think, is super crucial. And I think that it's something that we're still really growing towards and looking to create more spaces. So opportunities like being able to learn from everybody is really important to us, because I do think that as, the appetite for climate education gets bigger and bigger with this generations, we're just going to be able to provide more opportunities for people to learn, but also for us as the organization, as older, adults within the space, as older youth, whatever it might be, to be able to create and have those opportunities as well.
And just connecting what you were saying, I think that everything it's like framed into the Red Crescent Youth-led Climate Action Strategy that we have, and that is important to remind national societies that there is this tool, and that we are promoting that focus on this strategy to lead climate action in young people. So first is like focusing on awareness. That is like, I think that a better way to support youth is to give them tools, give them the knowledge of how climate change is impacting their communities, what they can do. It's like the TPK is doing, giving all these tools to move to action, to be the ones that are leading the projects, the ones that are proposing ideas, the ones that are giving advice to these important decision making, the ones that are like raising voices to move forward advocacy. We know that the more that we keep raising our voices, the more that we keep highlighting this as an important issue, we are going to have more support. So I think that it's important to focus on the tools that we have. The Red Cross, Red Crescent Youth-led Climate Action Strategy has another recommendations for national societies. It has tools, it has many elements that can be taken into account when we are working to improve and to support national societies towards this youth climate action. And also, just to add that it is important to give space to the ideas, what Henry was saying, to give this space with no judgments, with a lot of support, and to like move forward to inspire more young people to keep evolving and to just propose different ideas, different approaches, because I think that we need to start like moving forward and consider new approaches, consider the things that are like trending right now in order to like include more people within this path.
Yeah, and to build on what you beautifully said, Anna, I think there are lots of tools that are existing, like, of course, the Teen Prep Kit. And we have also YAdapt that really helps you to understand climate change, then understand like how it impacts their community. So what are the risks, the vulnerabilities, but also the resource and the capacities. And once this is understood, youth can really look for practical action that they can take to help their communities to adapt to climate change, and national societies can really use these tools to enable youth climate actions. The youth strategy has a list of tools that such as the YAdapt that can be used by national societies to enable this. So really invite you to look at that. YAdapt has already been run in 25 national societies and translated in more than 5 languages. So yeah, it's all available online. You can watch the videos, learn, and then train others in your communities also really with these tools.
Wonderful. Okay, for the sake of time, I think we have one more question that we can squeeze in. Can you go? Yes, okay, last one. What insight advice can you share for encouraging youth action?
I would like to start. I think that the main advice that I will give is to just break all the inner voice that are telling you that your ideas are not worthy, that you cannot do it, that it's not a space for you. All the fear, all of the barriers that you build for yourself, it's important to tell that voice that it's not real, because we are here to understand better, to improve, to learn. And it is important that we just, I know that this is a little cliche, but to step out of the comfort zone, but it's real, because if you stay in the same place, listening to that inner voice, you are not going to do anything. You are just going to believe that and stay there. But if you just said, this is important for me, I know that I can do something, I know that my ideas are available, I know that I can learn from another young leaders there, I'm going to step forward, I'm going to fail, I'm going to stand over, and I'm going to be learning and learning and learning. So that's mainly the highlight, the thing that I would like to highlight. And also to look forward, people that inspire you to start listening to different perspectives, and also to be enrolling in these opportunities. For example, I know that maybe Henry is going to give us a promotion of the new Limitless program, but I think that from my perspective as a Limitless participant, it was a really amazing experience that I had to put that inner voice on the side in order to jump to the opportunity to learn, to fail, to learn again. And we have a really cool participation there with a really important outcome. So maybe you can be surprised by the outcome of that, but it's important to take that first step. I think that it's the thing that I would like to share with another young person that is trying to figure out everything.
If I may jump in, for me, the advice that I will give is to do what you like, because with the climate change, it's such a big challenge that encompasses all different aspects of life, and we really need to reimagine the world in a way that brings us joy also. So do what you like to make sure that the world that we are now creating will be a nice, beautiful one. I think it's really important to build with the positive side, that rather than always creating against what is already existing. So think big and go for it.
I would say that I think that we all as people have many voices inside our head, and one of those voices is the crazy voice. I like to call it the crazy voice, that the one that says, hey, you can do that. Hey, have you seen that? You should try, and things like that. And that's a voice that you should listen to. So my advice would say, start doing. It doesn't really matter if you don't have the knowledge yet. It doesn't really matter if you don't have the experience yet. Nobody that has been a successful person was born knowing something or having the experience they have. They just one day decided to stand up from their bed and start doing. And I would recommend you to start doing. You are going to fail, of course. It's going to hurt, of course. You are going to cry it sometimes, of course. But it's the kind of pain that it's really worthy, because eventually you are going to be strong enough, wise enough. You're going to have a lot of knowledge and experience, and you are going to start building something that is going to impact deeply, not only your life, but the life of your community, the life of your family, and also, if it is big enough, the life of society in general. That's my first advice. And the second advice is not for youth, but for the organizations or the national societies or staff or managers in the Red Cross, and it is that try to understand better what youth wants. It's not about what we want to do. It's not about what we would like. It's about how we can support and guide these young people to materialize their crazy ideas. And I always say that we have to remember when we were teenagers, or when we were really young, and try to offer them what we would like to receive from others when we were growing. I think that we all recognize that when you are a teenager or when you are a young adult, it's a very critical stage of your life, because we started wondering what's happening with you, with your body, with your mind, what's happening around you, what's your role in society. So we really need to be this guidance that young people need, and of course open new spaces that are safe for them. And as Anna said, of course, I wanted to promote the Limitless program. I don't want to miss that opportunity. It's not announced officially yet, but it's going to happen this year by the end of but mid June, or by the end of June, we expect to finally announce it formally, but this year the Limitless program is going to be focused on climate and environment. So we expect to have over 2,000 people participating, over 100 national societies being part of this. So if you're interested, if you have an idea, go and learn, go and research, go and investigate, go and try something. So when the program finally is out, you will be ready to apply. And as Anna said, it's going to be a beautiful experience. It's going to be demanding, yes, but it's going to be one of the most beautiful experiences that you will be living in your life as volunteers. So you're invited to look a little bit more about the Limitless program and apply if you're interested, because it's something that you're going to enjoy.
Awesome. I agree with everything that everyone said, especially that you should apply for the Limitless program. There's that. Definitely apply, everyone. And on that same sentiment, I think that one of the best things that I've always remembered and I've learned from personal experience is just because somebody's older than you doesn't mean they're smarter than you or that their ideas are better than yours. So always just keeping that in mind. I think sometimes there's like an intimidation factor, but even the people that I found the most intimidating sometimes say goofy things or things that doesn't make sense. So just remembering that everybody is human and that your voice and your insight matters because you're offering a perspective that is uniquely yours is so crucial to these experiences specifically. And if you are a grown-up or somebody that has the capacity to support youth, is to please take advantage of that. I think that a lot of times, specifically within the Red Cross or other organizations, we have access to youth groups, but we don't do what we genuinely can to support them in the best ways that we can with the resources that we have. So just being mindful of your own access to youth clubs and reaching out to them and seeing how you can support them or how you can mentor them or whatever it might be, how you can, host a project with them, because it's something that I know at least internally within the American Red Cross that we could definitely do a better job at. So just always keeping that in mind too, because a lot of times I think we put a lot of weight on youth. They're going to be the future. They have to do all these things. And that sometimes I really think is unfair because there's way more grown-ups in the world and we could always be doing a much better job supporting them in any way that we can. So just keep that in mind too. If you're on this call and you're not necessarily a youth, to just keep that in mind as well, because they are the future, but we can do what we can to support their future now. So it's not as, dreary as we might make it out to be. So just keeping that in mind too.
Very well said, everybody. Thank you so much for sharing. All right, so we have a few minutes left with our session today. Do we have any questions, Taryn? Anybody want to drop any questions in our chat for our panelists?
Feel free to come off mute if you'd like, but also I have some questions that have been submitted and we can discuss those as well. But if anyone in the chat has a question, either put in chat or come off mute. We'd love to hear from you.
We just answered all the questions so well that everybody they've learned everything they need to know now. So
I have a question we received virtually. So just for everyone, what approaches have you seen that have been most successful to engage and empower youth via youth action? Can you share some anecdotes about your experience and that have been successful?
I have an experience, something that we did in the Ecuadorian Red Cross for many years, and it's some high school brigades or clubs. It's not a club. It's basically a brigade and a space where you can go and just meet once a week with these people, and you combine learning experiences with basically playing around. So that's something that really works, because you can help them develop new knowledge, but at the same time you help them develop soft skills or leadership skills. That's something that you really need in that age, and living experiences that will allow you to be more confident about what you can do, or what you can contribute to your community. So that's one thing that I think it's useful to empower them, because eventually you will give them the responsibility or the opportunity. I think it's better, the opportunity to lead some small tasks in their brigade with the group that they know, and they can learn from each other. So basically you are empowering them step by step until they can be ready enough to lead something bigger.
Thank you so much, Henry. And we have another great question that's asking, and even Henry even tackled this. What's next? What are you excited about for what's coming up within youth action and in the climate space?
Maybe I can jump in. So I'm really excited to see that the Wired Up program is getting bigger, and we have more training coming up in different national societies this year. So this is really exciting. And another exciting thing is the Climate and Youth Summit that will be coming up in October. It's an annual meeting for you to connect and get inspired. And I'm always really looking forward to this event, and I hope you will as well.
Also, adding to what Manon said, as the Youth Advisory Group, we have our own strategy, and we are like promoting regional consultations about the Red Cross, Red Crescent, climate youth-led strategy on climate action. So we have this agenda to make these consultations, to know how's the strategy going on, to improve, to give feedback to the Climate Center. And also we are planning to form these regional groups of climate and youth activists or advocates. So we, as the Youth Advisory Group, we're going to be working on this year. So stay tuned for the things that we are going to promoting. And yeah, I think that mainly those things are important.
I also just wanted to highlight a link that Rita put in the chat, which is, she mentioned a little bit during the presentation about a program called Ready Teams, which is put on by the Los Angeles region, the Red Cross Youth Club in that region. And I highly recommend checking it out. What that team does is pretty incredible, and kind of the gold standard of how the American Red Cross engages teens, specifically Red Cross teams, in emergency preparedness education in a really fun and engaging way. And it was fun for us to engage this group when we were creating the team prep kit. But it's just a deeper dive into the amazing and very intentional and thoughtful work that that team puts on to engage their youth volunteers. And in the same regard, it is put on by Teens for Teens with the guidance of their incredible volunteer team. So definitely recommend checking that out as well. Anything else, Taryn?
Just for those in the chat, I see that we have Deborah asking, is it possible to recording? Yes, absolutely. We are recording this meeting, and we are happy to share it with you so you can pass it along to all of your friends and colleagues for them to get equally as excited about youth climate action and to get to experience the Teen Kit as well.
Rita, anything else you want to add with 1 minute to go?
Yeah, no, that's it. Can't thank you enough to all of our panelists. Really appreciate this dialogue that we were able to have. This was just a really fantastic opportunity to get everyone together and really have a deep dive into the discussion about climate youth action. I really think we just hit the tip of the iceberg on this topic, and I really think that we will continue this discussion going forward. So really hope to have more discussions about youth action in the following months. But again, really thank you to everybody for your really impressive comments today and for your time, and for everybody today for coming in and listening to everybody's really impressive comments. And I do hope that everybody takes the time to check out the Team Prep Kit and all of the wonderful activities that were created by youth across the globe. So really check it out. It's pretty cool. But thank you, everybody. I know we're at the top of the hour, so I'll give you back your days. But thank you, everybody. And we'll be sure to send out the recording. So share it, pass it along, pass out the resources and the links that we will share. But have a great rest of your day, everybody. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Bye. Have a
you.
nice day.
Bye.
Take
See you.
care.
Bye.
So well done.
Bye
Well done.
bye.